So it is approximately 2 weeks since my heart attack. And as you can tell by my somewhat glowing cherub complexion, I've just completed my first workout. Although perhaps workout's overselling it a little bit, but I refuse to use the word rehab, and I absolutely detest the expression cardiac rehab. Because having seen what cardiac rehab involves, it is designed for people who have never in their lives met the minimum exercise requirements of 150 minutes a week of moderate activity or 75 minutes a week of intense activity, plus 2 resistance sessions. I bet you those numbers have shocked a few of you. But one of the things that sitting down and planning this recovery has done is it's made me think about intent. And it's made me think about the way we go about things and what we bring to the plans we undertake. One of the things that always intrigued me about people who went to gyms is that they would have this catch-all aim. When they were asked why they were there, they'd simply say, to get fit. Well, that raises the question of, in your mind, what does that mean? Because fitness could be increased cardiovascular fitness. It could be increased strength. It could be increased power, which is a subset of strength. It could be increased mobility, flexibility, resilience if you're a combat athlete. Now, some of these things are slightly contradictory. It's very, very difficult to be a power lifter and a 10K runner. The aims are contradictory. And so people don't think through what they do. And what's been my observation is that this translates into the way people approach things like fitness. When I've watched people in the gym, they tend to look like an octopus falling out of a tree. They flail their arms and legs around with no intent whatsoever, no direction, no plan, no mindfulness of why they are there or what they're doing. And you might think, well, what is the relevance of this to trading? What people, I think, perhaps fail to understand and are not cognizant of is that our various domains of behaviour apply to everything we do. We don't have a domain of behaviour that says, I will approach my fitness with intent and planning, because intent governs actions, actions govern outcome, but then be completely rubbish at my trading. They don't say, I will approach my trading with intent and mindfulness, but then not approach other aspects of their life with that. People who have an all-encompassing notion of intent tend to apply it to everything. It's not liberally applied to one thing and then other things are completely ignored. This is why people who are successful tend to be successful across many domains, not just one in particular. And one of the things that is true about trading is that people come to it with a generalized aim. What is your aim? To be rich. Okay, well, that's all well and good, but you could buy a business that might make you rich. You could have some sort of startup. You could marry well. You could win the lottery. All of these things will make you rich. But again, you have to define what rich is. Is rich simply having the time that you want to do whatever you want to do? Is it having the capacity to buy whatever you want to buy? Or more importantly, is it the capacity to say no? And it is that indistinct nature of their aim that in many ways sets the seed for many people's failures, because they're not bringing a clear defined goal. And the issue is that if you do not have a goal, you can't measure your progress towards the endpoint of that goal. You can't set little sort of waypoints along the way that say that I'm now at this point, I will now do this. I'm now at this point, I will do this. For example, in this rehabbing I'm doing now, there's that word that I hate. I have set metrics and goals, all of which are governed to some degree by external metrics. Many are governed by my smartwatch, which, by the way, wasn't smart enough to tell me I was having a heart attack. I had to work that out for myself. And so without intent, you really will struggle to work out what your endpoints are, what you are going to do at the end. Because intent governs actions, actions govern outcomes. Now, that doesn't mean that your actions will in any way, shape or form govern what the market does. We are completely reflexive. We are reactive to what the market does. We have no control. But by action, I mean it governs your longevity and your survivability. And again, we come back to that awful thing. Markets have this terrible, terrible, terrible metric that simply says, the longer you survive, the more money you make. The more money you make, the longer you survive. The longer you survive, the more money you make. It is this terrible feedback loop. The problem is most people don't get past step one. And they don't get past step one because they don't know how to survive. And that's the problem. And they don't know how to survive because they don't have a goal that says this is what you want to achieve. To achieve this, you must initially start doing this. For example, one of my metrics for doing this is to be able to get back in the pool and bang out 3K without problems. But the initial step for that is to sit on my exercise bike and to be able to pedal for 10 minutes without my heart rate going stupid. I have a simple beginning point, but that beginning point has an end point and I can measure all the steps in between. It's the same with trading. If your end goal is to say, let's say your end goal is to have sufficient funds to replace your salary and to trade full-time on an ongoing basis for the rest of your life. Okay, what's your first goal? Your first goal is to survive your first year. And hopefully you don't blow yourself up. And along the way you accumulate a variety of lessons and a bit of experience and you move on from that. And you set a next goal. And each one takes you closer to the end goal. Now, the end goal might change. It might evolve and it might alter, but it doesn't really matter. So long as there is some form of intent that drives you towards that end point.